Chaos, hello, this is Muckstick and welcome to a brand new video. The Dragon Ball universe is very confusing for newcomers, especially nowadays since there's so much media to it. So I wanted to make a small video trying to figure things out, piece it all together, and figure out for newcomers where they could start with Dragon Ball. The word canon is thrown around a lot and I don't want to use that. I know I used it on the title, the Dragon Ball Canon or something. I'm not sure what I'm gonna title this yet, but in truth, there is technically no canon, and I don't want to keep using the word canon since it's so divisive amongst the fans. So instead I'm gonna use the word chronology, because I think that's more appropriate, because there's just separate chronologies of Dragon Ball. So this is my best attempt at piecing it all together, so I hope you enjoy. We begin the manga chronology with the past sequences from Dragon Ball Super Broly. As we saw in trailer 2, Frieza arrives on planet Vegeta. The next thing in the manga chronology is Dragon Ball Minus, which is also being adapted into Broly, but since it's not out yet and we don't know exactly what's being changed, I decided to just put Minus here. We see that at the same time, in Chronology 2, the anime chronology opens up. It starts with Bardock, the father of Goku. As you can see here, there is two completely different stories being told in two different chronologies, so keep that in mind. We move forward a little bit, and in the manga chronology, Jacko the Galactic Patrolman takes place. This is a small story that takes place right as Goku lands on Earth. In the few years before the story proper begins, in the anime chronology, a small illustrated story starts, named High Pride, Saiyan Prince Vegeta. This story tells the tale of Vegeta from planet Vegeta to serving under Frieza. So I placed it here. It's in the anime chronology as it was published in Jump Gold Selection 5, Dragon Ball Z Anime Special 2. We finally begin the story proper as the Dragon Ball manga begins. I am referring to the Kanzenban release of the manga, by the way, which has a few changes. At the same time, the anime chronology begins the anime version of the story, which has changes such as adding filler. Two more chronologies open up, the third one being the movie chronology, beginning with Legend of Shenlong and Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle. The fourth chronology only has one story in it, the 10th anniversary film, Path to Power, and it closes up quickly after that. We go all the way through the story up to the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, where the manga and the anime continue their respective stories, but with another movie taking place in the movie chronology. Mystical Adventure, which more or less is a retelling of the Red Ribbon and 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai arcs. These first three Dragon Ball films could be considered their own standalone story, and the events are largely ignored by later films. One thing to remember is that some things that happen in the anime also happen in the movies, but not always the way around. The next thing in the chronology is the King Piccolo arc. The anime of course has a lot of filler that makes it separate from the manga. There is a gap between the King Piccolo arc and the next where I placed another illustrated story in the anime chronology, named In the Name of King Piccolo. This story tells the tale of Piccolo growing up to the Saiyan battle. Anyways, the manga picks back up with the Piccolo Jr. arc, and ends the arc with Goku leaving with Chi-Chi. The anime actually expands on this a bit by allowing us to see what happens after the tournament, including the wedding. I then placed Death Zone in both the movie and the anime chronology, as the events in it are actually referenced in later filler arcs, even if there's things that contradict each other. Anyways, the Z portion begins with the Saiyan arrival on Earth. This starts the 1.5 chronology, Kai. This is a weird one, as I will explain later on, but it seems like all the events that happen in the anime chronology except for Death Zone also happen in the Kai chronology. That is to say, all of the original Dragon Ball anime happened in the Kai chronology. The anime chronology expands on some things such as Gohan's training. In the movie chronology, movie 2 takes place around this time, and a bit later on so does Tree of Might. We move forward to the Frieza saga in the anime, manga, and Kai, while in the movies, Lord Slug takes place, bringing forth a different kind of Super Saiyan. I do want to point out that some filler in the anime chronology is referenced in later Kai chronology stuff, such as Ginyu and Bulma's frog antics, but they are rather small things. I then place History of Trunks, which doesn't really fit anywhere through the timeline chronology since it takes place in the past and then the future, so I just place it here. It also takes place in the Kai chronology. The manga, however, has Trunks, the story, which is a bit different. Meanwhile, both the anime and the movie chronology get Cooler's revenge, and Return of Cooler, as the character appears in later stuff in the anime chronology. Before the Android arc begins proper, we have the Garlic Jr. filler arc, which is why I had Death Stone in the anime chronology. Finally, we get to the Android arc, in the 3 main chronologies. In the movie chronology, however, somewhere around this time, a little bit later than the start, Super Android 13 begins. Then there is a small space left to signify that the 10 days before the Cell games have appeared, as the first Broly movie and Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans seem to take place here. The Cell games end, and BoJack Unbound takes place in the movie and the anime chronology. Next, the Other World tournament happens in both Kai and the anime chronology, as it is partially shown in the last episode of Kai. Now we reach the Buu arc, and I have a small space between the introduction of the Great Saiyaman and Videl, because this is the most plausible place where the second Broly movie could take place in the movie chronology, since Videl, Goten, and Gohan know each other. Finally, Majin Buu is defeated in the manga, Kai, and Z. While in the movie chronology, a bit after, we see Bio Broly and Fusion Reborn. Remember, only some things from the main story happen in the movies. For example, Goku has fought Buu and taught the kids fusion in Fusion Reborn, but both Vegeta and him are dead, and also Buu is nowhere in sight. Anyways, if you want to know more about how certain movies work or don't work comparison to the anime and the manga chronology, check out Dragon Ball University's Why the Movies Can't Happen series. To continue, the next step in the chronology actually takes place in all 3 main chronologies. Son Goku and his friends return, introduce Tarble, Vegeta's long-lost brother. I actually wanted to put the manga version in the manga chronology, but I haven't really read it. Even so, I believe there is pretty much the same thing. Moving forward a bit more, I have placed Wrath of the Dragon in both the anime and the movie chronology, because Trunks' sword will be part of the anime chronology moving forward. This is the last thing in the movie chronology, so it closes off. Now we enter the Super era, so the anime chronology takes a rest for a little bit. Meanwhile, I have Battle of Gods, the movie, and Fukatsu no F, the movie, in the manga chronology. Battle of Gods because honestly I think it fits a bit better and is overall a better story than the mangas in my opinion. And Fukatsu no F because there's no complete version of it in the manga. However, if you wanted, you could instead use the manga version of Battle of Gods. It doesn't really matter, I think. The Kai chronology continues with the anime of Dragon Ball Super, as I believe it was made with the Kai audience in mind, and it uses Kai footage for flashbacks. However, like I said before, there is some filler from Z referenced in Super that wasn't in Kai, but again, it's nothing major. Anyways, the Future Trunks arc and the Universe Survival arc in the manga continues, while the anime versions of it continues in the Kai chronology. Next, Dragon Ball Super Broly seems to happen in both the Kai and the manga chronology. Unless they decide to make a weird anime or manga from the movie again. I do want to point something off here, since Bardock is shown as he was in the special in Kai. Then again, a similar scene is also shown in the manga, so we've kinda gotta roll with it, until we actually see Broly. Anyways, the manga chronology reaches the end of the original manga. Kai ends with the last episode of Final Chapters, and the anime reaches the last 2 episodes of Z. This finishes off the Kai chronology for now, but the manga chronology continues just a little bit more with Neko Majin Z, a joke manga by Akira Toriyama. I placed it here because we see Goku with his end of manga outfit, training Teen Oob. The manga chronology ends here for now. The last chronology opened is the anime one, which continues on for a bit more, where we continue on to GT, where Cooler appears and Trunks uses his sword, which is why I had the Cooler films and Wrath of the Dragon happen. We move on to GT Special with Goku Jr. Then, the furthest thing in the anime Dragon Ball chronology takes place with the last few moments of GT, where Goku's spirit appears at the Tenkaichi Budokai. And finally, the anime chronology closes off. I did want to say that I wanted to include Dragon Ball Online as part of the manga chronology, but it's a bit confusing thanks to Xenoverse and Heroes, so I just wanted to keep it simple. So, to summarize, in the original manga story, Dragon Ball Minus leads to Jacko, which leads to the original manga, all the way through the Majin Buu arc, until we reach Son Goku and his friends return. Then Battle of Gods and Fukatsu no F, then the rest of the Dragon Ball Super manga, Dragon Ball Super Broly, then the end of the manga, and finally Neko Majin Z. For Kai, the original Dragon Ball anime leads to Dragon Ball Kai, which leads to Dragon Ball Kai, the final chapters. Son Goku and his friends return, then the Dragon Ball Super anime, Dragon Ball Super Broly, and finally, the end of the final chapters. In the Dragon Ball anime one, I'm only gonna mention the major things. So, Bardock, the father of Goku, leads to the original Dragon Ball anime, which leads to that zone, which leads to the Dragon Ball Z anime, all the way through the Frieza arc until we reach the Cooler movies. Then we continue on through the Android arc until we reach the end of it, and BoJack Unbound takes place. Then we go through the rest of the Dragon Ball Z anime until we reach the end of the Buu arc, where Wrath of the Dragon and Son Goku and his friends return take place. Then the end of the Z anime, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball GT A Hero's Legacy, and Dragon Ball GT's ending. And that was my way of interpreting the Dragon Ball media in the best way I possibly could. Hopefully this helped you out to understand a bit more how things are connected and stuff like that, but in the end of the day, there's never been a stated Dragon Ball chronology exactly, so you could technically build your own. So tell me down below, what things do you consider to belong where, and did I miss something? Make sure to tell me down below in the comments, share, subscribe, all the good stuff, and then follow me on Twitter @Smugstick. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Smugstick, unless you want to be destroyed.
Lord Beerus, that's hardly fair. But also, don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified when he uploads new videos.